Hey, Dennis, can I say that there's one other key crew member who's here in the audience, Saskia Trevunza, who I didn't mention before. And where is she? Yeah, all right.
Thank you all for being here, Kent. It's a nice full circle moment.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, let's not comment. It's just crazy. I'm still experiencing it. So.
Okay. You mentioned Sammy in your introduction. It's too bad she can't be here, but maybe you can say a little bit about how this project emerged for you. I mean, she had written the script and then it was sent to you. How did it happen?
Yeah, Pam Koffler called me and said, do I read scripts by other people? Because I'd written my own scripts. And she said, and I said I'd certainly be interested. And she told me it was by Sammy, and that got me really interested. And then I went out and I found the novella. It was a good NYRB edition of it. And I was, we started talking, and then, but the crazy thing is that I was out in LA. This guy and I, on the way back from LA, were on the same flight. We talked for the whole flight about everything but late fame. When it came time to do casting, it's just like, who else is gonna? I mean, and then it turned out that he had the novella in his backpack because he was thinking of
Just to jump in, a friend of mine, Danny Zippi, was suggested this would be a good movie, and I read the novella and I thought fantastic. Originally, he thought maybe Abel could do something with this, and I thought, I don't know. I showed Abel Ferrara, and he said, no, this is my thing. Yeah. But I thought this is a movie. So I was carrying this around, and really, soon I was going to try to find out who had the rights to it and that sort of thing. And then we had this meeting.
Yeah. And we both kind of liked the script a little better than the novella. Oh. Sorry, Arthur Schnitzler.
It's all right. He'll never know.
He won't.
But Willem, you were reading the book before you knew there was a script?
This friend, Danny, turned me on to it. And I read it, and I really liked it. There was something about it.
Yeah.
And, of course, then when he asked me to, to be in the movie, then I was very surprised that it was, changed to present-day New York.
Yeah.
And initially, when I heard that, I thought, bad idea. But then I read it, and I think...
we both kind of liked the script a lot.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. So, because it's captured some things that are in the air, at least for me. So I felt like I had a personal connection to it.
Olivier Assayas was actually thinking of adapting it, too. I found out.
Maybe everybody should make.
I know.
Like
everybody
Abel,
should do their
Olivier.
own late fame and set it in different parts of the world.
You mentioned that you both preferred Sammy's approach to the Schnitzler. I mean, I think it's kind of a stroke of genius to recognize like certain themes from the novella that would apply to New York today and New York of a certain time. But what were the other changes, that made the script work for you? Were they tonal, or
I think Schnitzler's all about hard angles and ironies, and I think that the script was immediately different from that.
Yeah,
it just was more surprising, more human. I think. Didn't you find? I mean,
no, I just personally related to it more, that's all. About different stages of life where when it's set in Vienna, it becomes very much a Viennese thing and a thing of that, fin de siècle kind of culture, So this was a totally different thing. So...
No, go ahead.
No, I just think that it lent itself to a more surprising thing. You could easily imagine a different movie.
Absolutely.
Based on the novella that's sharper and more satirical.
The film is set in the present day, but obviously, also brings to mind continuously a New York of an earlier time. A time that both of you remember and looked around. So, I'm just wondering if both of you could say a little bit about the New York of the 70s, 80s, I guess.
Roughly the moment that we both arrived. You got here a little earlier than I did. But yeah, it was a different place. I mean, there's no. I think that, you know, as is it's described in the movie as it was, you know, pretty well. And it's just, I don't think, you know, we wanted to make a film, not a nostalgic film, but a film about nostalgia and people experiencing different kinds of it. I think that Edmund's character is experiencing it in one way and has this idea of this group that isn't really a group, but sort of is, but sort of isn't. Greta's character is experiencing it in a completely different way, because it's like, you know, coming to New York and, you know, making it, but then is that moment over? And then, you know, for Ed Saxberger, it's obviously the lure for discovery.
Greta and Edmund, I'd love to bring you in, and maybe you could say a little bit about your response to the script and the characters you were playing. Greta, I understand you came on board kind of late for the film, right? You were.
Yes, I did. Thank you to Sandra Hüller for dropping out so that I could be here instead.
It was like a couple hours before we started.
A couple hours, yeah. It was a dynamic.
Late
hours.
fame. Yeah.
Late fame. Yeah. You know, it's one of those situations where I don't think I ever dreamed that I could be part of something like this in this way. Gloria Gardner, someone who I am obsessed with that character, and when I read it, and I just like, God, what is wrong with Sandra? Why? How could she say no? What a dummy. But it was so clear on the page what Sammy had written. It was just so exquisite. I mean, it was just everything I'd ever wanted in terms of a woman like that, a woman who I think is maybe going away and fading out. I mean, I'm so amazed to be here right now, Lincoln Center. This is where I got my start. I wasn't here quite as I wasn't in here in the 70s. I can't claim the 80s, but this is where I became an artist myself. And when I first dreamed of becoming an artist and what that could be, it was here in New York City. I did a play at LCT3 called 4,000 Miles. Lena Dunham found me in that little play and put me in Girls, almost 15 years ago. And from there, it's really been a wild ride. To hear, and all of that is part of Gloria. I mean, we were talking a lot, Kent and I, about women like Marlene Dietrich. We were watching Shanghai Express. We were thinking about Isabella Rossellini, Sally Bowles, obviously, and like a weird, fucked up Holly Golightly. Like, there's so many people, but these are the women who I love, and these are the women. They're the whole reason why I'm here. And I got to try to put that into Gloria. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember when originally in the script it was indicated that Gloria would do a striptease, and we were talking, and I was like, I don't know, that doesn't sound all that. And I said, but I'm thinking of having you sing and maybe Surabaya Johnny, and you said, forget it, that's it. Yeah. Now that you've said it, you can't not do it.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah, there were so many things that I responded to on a macro level with the script. One of the things that was so incredible about it to me was that it really asks the question, I think, of what value does something have if it's made in a vacuum, or do people need to perceive you or your work for it to be valued? And I find that such an interesting and sort of scary question that the movie seems to ask about Ed mostly, but also about all of these artists. And then more specifically with Myers, I was very moved by, there's a lot that I have in common with him, as much as I don't like to admit it.
You sound so much like him right now.
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
I sat through the movie, so I sort of like go back into character whenever I'm around him. No, but I'm not entirely like him, I'd like to think. But, oh God, I'm sweating. No, but seriously, I spent a lot of time in school, and there were a lot of Saxbergers in my life, and there are people that I, looked to and thought that they had all of the answers for me, and that I had to sort of emulate them, and that at one point I would just sort of become them. And I think that Myers and the young people in the story are interesting because they're aiming at something that they think there's an answer to in the past, but really they don't know what it is, and they have to find it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at one point you said to me, I think he should be kind of odd, don't you? And I'm like, oh yeah. And you did.
I wanted to ask about Saxberger's poem, when we finally hear his poetry, and also just how you use poetry throughout the film. Kent, maybe first.
Well, where's Peter Gizzy? Where are you? There you are. The film's dedicated to him. And if there's anything that I know about poetry comes from my friendship with him. And I felt like it was important, love you too, man. I felt like it was important to include real poetry in the film and people speaking from a poetic voice. You know, starting with the Lorene Niedecker poem where she's like, may prose and, you know, property die away and leave me in peace. Also, poets that were on the minds of people when Ed would have, you know, I mean, you know, Ezra Pound, you know, is obviously a very controversial figure, but he meant, you know, poetry, the world of poetry wouldn't have been the same without him. And he was met by Ginsberg and Pasolini, you know, and admired by them. You know, it's just, I felt that was very important. And in terms of the poem that Ed reads, it's just a poem that's in kind of like the vernacular of the New York poetry world. That's a little bit of a trick because it's retrospective and, you know, it's supposed to be from that time, but it's also retrospective. But I think it's a movie, so it works within the movie.
I think we only have time for one more question, but I was curious to hear maybe Willem and also Edmund, you know, working with this group of younger actors, and I was just wondering if there are any parallels in terms of that relationship and also what's in the film in terms of the enthusiasm society around you. Yeah, I was just curious to hear both of you talk about that dynamic.
Yes.
Where are they?
Yeah,
now?
absolutely.
Are they
I
still
Yeah, they're all here.
there?
There they are.
Yeah, there they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's less embarrassing for me to talk about than for Willem to say it, but yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say we all admire Willem so much. We're all actors, and we've all grown up watching Willem, and so there was a very sort of bizarre, like, meta element to the whole thing. But, you know, Willem was so incredible, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but
I can leave.
Yeah, no. So that we can all talk about you. Yeah.
But
Greta,
every
you leave
day,
too,
Willem would sit with. I tell this story. I think this is like a very short and easy way to tell, and metaphorical way to talk about the role that Willem played with us boys on set. Every day at lunch, he would sit with us, and he would bring an orange, one of these big oranges, like those massive ones, you know. And he would tear it open, and he'd take a piece, and then he'd pass it around the table, and we'd all have a piece. And then, you know, he would regale us. Well, really, we would ask him all these questions, and he would, like, patiently respond to all of them and tell us about his life and all of the work he's done. And anyway, he was our real-life Saxberger. So, yeah.
Ah, sweet. You know, we added little things here and there, but one thing that I say all the time in my life, and I think it ends up in the movie, is I used to be the youngest one in every group, and then overnight I became the oldest one. And it's really happened. So we had that going on, kind of a little bit how you described that. And I get embarrassed, you know, by this, but I get seduced because their interest seems actual. They're starting out. And I get turned on by their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And the idea that they're at the beginning of a life that they can imagine. I'm not at the end of mine, but you get it. Yeah, it definitely was a meta thing. And you get to a certain age, and if you worked for a long time, people do tend to ask you about the past. It's a curious thing. And you got to be careful, because then you become this kind of guy that tells war stories, and that repels me, because then you start to harden into something. So you got to fight it. So that's all floating in the movie somewhere, you know. There are different stations in life, and I think it's interesting in the movie, not specifically even for fame, you know. The guy seems fairly content. He's got a simple life, and then he starts to get sucked into his younger self. A time where, you know, with Greta, it's not, nothing gets consummated at all, but
Yeah, what's up with that?
but he's feeling the heat of a younger self, you know, and also just with the work, you know, they're like, hey, can you write some new stuff? And he's like, yeah, maybe I can, you know. So that all was quite interesting for me.
I just want to say two brief things. The first brief thing is that is an enormous Rolex clock over in the corner. It's unbelievable. It's the biggest Rolex I've ever seen. The second thing is this moment when he says, I used to be the youngest person in the room, now I'm the oldest. The look on Greta's, the way that Greta, as Gloria, reacts to that remark is so subtle, but so right. And it reminds me of just, you know, I just want to say, when I saw Past Lives, I loved the film. I thought it was terrific. But the first reaction that I had was, who was that actress? I was just like, I really thought that, you know, and I consider myself fortunate to have worked with everybody on this film, and I just needed to acknowledge that here with you. So I got you a Rolex.
Thank you so much for my Rolex.
I hope you like it.
All right, even though we are out of time, I just want to note that Willem is going to be in conversation with Ethan Hawke at 3 p.m. as part of our Talks program. Kent will be speaking with Kelly Reichardt and Lucio Castro at 5:15. And Greta's coming back tonight for Catherine Bigelow's film. So,
in a different outfit, I hope. Yeah.
Thank you to all of you, and congratulations on the film.